How's it going, everyone? I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreens.com, and I got another movie to review for you guys, and that would be A Monster Calls. So if you don't know what this one's about, it's basically about a young boy trying to cope with his mother's illness, and it is depressing. You're probably wondering, like, is this the biopic to Cookie Monster overcoming his anxiety to call on the phone for a cookie delivery? That was a terrible joke. Let's move on past that. Anyways, I saw this movie 2 months ago, and I wanted to wait on it until the week it was coming out wide, just to see if my thoughts would change in that time frame and whatnot. And I've kind of dipped my grade down a little bit, but I still think it's a very a good, solid movie about coping with the inevitable, which is death, and being in that age that the main character is. I think it's very interesting. So let's get real and break this down. I was looking forward to this movie, and I was not disappointed. But people that are going crazy about this movie, I just don't really see it. I'm like a little bit above halfway there. So let's start with the writing and directing. Now, it's directed by J.A. Bayona, who did like The Orphanage and The Impossible, I believe. And now this one, now he's going to be doing the Jurassic World sequel. What I like about this style of directing for this film is that he really does focus in on the main character, played by Louis Madougall. And what I really appreciated was to kind of show what it's like to go through something as crappy as watching your mother or your father get struck with an illness, and you have to basically watch them die. And the kid in the movie, he's like 10 years old, so he's not at that age to where he's young enough to where he wouldn't probably remember it, and he's not old enough in his teenage years to really kind of like understand what's going on. He's kind of like in that middle age where he doesn't really know what's going on. He's frustrated, he's angry, he's sad. All these emotions are hitting at him all at once, and he doesn't know how to cope with it. And it takes the whole fantasy element with, the talking tree played by Liam Neeson, and really kind of show him how to cope with death and how to let go and move on. And you can't let this weigh down on you. It's something that you cannot control, so you need to learn how to deal with it. And I thought there were some really good life lessons that he learned throughout the movie and whatnot. So it makes it for a really well-rounded kid character going through this situation. And like I said, I really like that kind of fantasy element, because us as kids, we fantasize about a lot of stuff. We daydream. And I think having that element in this is really very palpable for the main character and the age that he's at. I think it works out in that element. A thing I didn't really appreciate writing and directing wise, I think it's a very well written movie, and it definitely tugs at your heartstrings. But I think the mom character and the dad character in particular, they interact with their son, but I never really felt like I knew them that well. Like, I knew basic characteristics and traits about them, but I didn't really get to know them. So when the mother is struck with this illness, which is literally as the movie starts, like, okay, and so we start to kind of peel back the layers a little bit throughout the movie to kind of understand her character a little bit more, but I never really felt like I knew her that well. So the connection there emotionally was lacking a little bit, to where, when the end of the movie happens, I felt more for the kid than I did the mom. But maybe that was the point, because he's the main character and you kind of focus on how he deals with this situation. I thought the grandma, played by Sigourney Weaver, was a lot better than the mom and the dad, for sure, because there was a lot of baggage on her, and there was a reason why the kid hates her and whatnot. So I kind of like that dynamic. But as far as like the dad and the mom, not really the most compelling of characters, even though like the acting was really good and the writing was really good. It just emotionally, I couldn't really connect to him. And I thought the visual style from J.A. Bayona, fantastic. If he can make Jurassic World 2 look as visually appealing as A Monster Calls, we're for a good treat. A Monster Calls is on a very, very, very small budget. And the worlds that this character, the kid, creates with the talking tree and all these like fairy tales type of scenarios and environments and whatnot, J.A. Bayona has a really good visual eye, and like some of the shots in the cinematography bleed into fairy tale almost aspects, and it has kind of like that like nighttime story quality that your parents would tell you as a kid. Like it kind of brings you into that world. And when it goes back into reality, it's kind of a little bit more grounded and whatnot. So I really do appreciate that visual style that Bayona has implemented. As far as the acting, like I said, even though I didn't really feel the connection that much towards the mom and the dad, Toby Kebbell plays the dad, Felicity Jones plays the mom, Sigourney Weaver plays the grandmother, and Louis McDougall, I believe that's how you pronounce it. They were all fantastic. The acting is top notch, and the end of the movie will tug at your heartstrings. And let's not forget Liam Neeson's voice acting on the tree. Liam Neeson is a pro at voice acting. When you have the guy that is pretty much called upon to do any godlike character, pun intended, because he played God in the Chronicles of Narnia, I thought he added a nice layer of compassion towards the kid, but also kind of like that stern truth that you want to tell kids, so you don't really lie to their face. So it's kind of like give and take. You know, you're compassionate, you're giving and whatnot, but you also want to be blunt and very truthful, so they can get the full grasp of the situation. Anyone else in the movie? I don't think so. Like I said, it's all 2 months ago, but I believe that's the core group right there. Cinematography wise, like I said, very grounded cinematography in the real world, and when we get into the fantasy elements, I really like the way the contrast and the shadows kind of play with each other and kind of like have like this kind of like a Hansel and Gretel, like Little Red Riding Hood like type of like vibe. It's kind of creepy and atmospheric, but also kind of inviting with the colors and just the way it's shot and everything. And I gotta tell you, moving on to visual effects and editing, the visual effects on Liam Neeson's Tree are spectacular. And when you realize it's a small independent film, you're like, no way, it's incredible. I love just the intricate detail and the bumps and ridges in the tree and just the way the leaves look. It just looks so realistic. I was like, wow, J.A. Bayona, I don't even know what we're in for Jurassic World 2, but you're going to bring something. I'm going to tell you that. So move on to editing. Special effects, excuse me. There was a few scenes where it was a little too obvious in the green screen, but I will let that slide because I thought the animation of the green screen was really well done. It's just that, yes, you could tell that the main character was in front of a green screen, but, you know, they did what they did with the budget that they had. Editing-wise, movies that I think about 2 hours long, I was hooked from start to finish, and I found the story very intriguing. But I gotta be honest with you, and this is gonna hinder my grade a little bit, I don't know if I want to rewatch this movie ever again. It's one of those movies that you experience, you cry, you have a good laugh, you realize that life is precious and you should not waste any moment of it. I don't know if I want to go through with that again. Now, I do like myself some depressing films, but for this one in particular, I just don't see any reason to ever watch it again. You know, own it, rent it, or whatever. I just, I saw it once. It was great. It was solid, but I don't really feel the need to watch it again. And that does kind of hinder my grade just a little bit. So overall, guys, what a great story about, I think he was like 10 years old, like a 10, 11-year-old coping with the inevitable loss of his parent and not really knowing what to feel. His emotions are flying all over the place. So he resorts to daydreaming and this kind of fantasy world to take him out of the reality for a couple seconds, but still kind of teach him about the weight of the reality that he's about to face. So I found that kind of interesting because you know how like when we daydream, we escape reality, we want to go to a different place for a little bit. It's very interesting that he escapes the reality, the real world, but the tree, played by Liam Neeson, teaches him about the harsh truths about what is about to become of his reality. So I found that kind of interesting. So guys, overall, acting solid, cinematography really well done, very emotional ride. Don't know if I want to really rewatch it again. And I thought the connection between the mother and the father seemed a little bit rushed, and I didn't really feel as connected as I should be, especially given the premise of the film. So overall, guys, I'm going to give a Monster Calls a solid B. I think it's a solid film. It's nothing too spectacular, but I think out of all the ones coming out this weekend, if you are curious about it, go see it. You know what's really interesting about this film? Just real quick, I'm going to wrap it up. When we were watching Rogue One, A Star Wars Story 3 weeks ago, this trailer popped in front of it. Now, I realize that Felicity Jones is in both, but this movie is not something you want to play in front of Star Wars fans and crowds and be like, yeah, you should go see this movie. It's going to really tear your heart out. It's so much fun. So that was some weird advertisement. Like I said, I know Felicity Jones is in both, but dear Lord, completely different audiences. No. So Monster Calls a B. So what about you guys? What say you? Comment place on my face and let me know what you thought of Monster Calls, or have you even heard of it? Are you excited about it? Is that the one you're going to go see this weekend? I'm really excited about Silence, but this would be my second pick for the weekend to go see at the theaters. Not Underworld, Blood Wars Part 5, Lycan Battle Vampire. I don't even know. So I'm Chase Lee, guys, reporting for DallasMoviesScreenings.com, and tune in next time for whatever I review next. I will see you guys later.